You are listening to Project 35, a project that I'll be interviewing 35 women coming from different countries and backgrounds. So let's listen to their stories and cheer them on their own unique journey. And I hope you will enjoy it as much as I do. Hi Sarah, how are you doing today?
I'm doing wonderful. How are you?
I'm doing good as well. And first of all, thank you so much for reaching out to me and giving me a chance to interview you. And I'm really glad to have you at a part of Project 35. So this is our very first time, seeing and talking to each other. So would you like to also give a little bit more introductions about yourself, maybe where you're from, as well as what are you doing currently for living? Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, whenever I saw that you were taking on this project, I thought it was such a brilliant idea. And I was like, it is such a great community to be able to share people's different backgrounds and different journeys and for other people to relate to different things that we're going through because life is crazy. Um, so I am currently 26 years old. I will actually be having a birthday here in the next couple weeks. So my birthday is October 18th. Um, and I currently have been in the full-time workforce as an engineer. I went to a college a little bit outside of my state that I live in. So I've always known, grew up, lived in Pennsylvania, um, roughly around the Pittsburgh area, if anybody is familiar with that. But I did take in about like an hour and a half trip to stay at a college, and I got my degree there in chemical engineering. I apologize if you hear my dogs in the background.
No
Um,
worries.
I ended up um, taking degree after, and I've been in the workforce for about 3.5 years now, and kind of in a different environment than a typical chemical engineer is. But my day to day looks a little bit different. But I am in more the automation, aerospace, and defense industry. So working in a printed circuit board shop now, and it's just been very eye opening and
Mm,
very different. Nothing that I
mm,
expect to be in, but I love the overall encompassing background of what an engineer can do. The critical thinking, the decision making, things like that is something that I love, and you're constantly learning and growing. So I am
mm,
currently going to be switching roles here soon. So super excited.
that is really great to hear. And first of all, happy birthday to you in advance. And then I wish you a great year ahead with lots of success and also lots of health. And I love to hear that working in the chemical engineering field, and you seems to be really happy with what you are doing, which is really great to hear. And I also know that you are actually currently studying with IIN. So engineering and health coaching are something very different. So what brings you to that decision? Like what makes you to decided to take up a course with IIN? Yeah.
Yeah, so honestly, looking back, I was trying to really realize like where did my journey actually really start? And it actually went back to whenever I was in my senior year of college. This was back in the fall of 2018. And I was heading into my fall semester and I did not have enough credits to take. So as an engineer, I was like, well, I'm just going to take an easy course. And I ended up deciding to take a personal health course. It was just what I needed, just enough. And I was blindsided by the passion that grew within those, 4 or 5 months that the semester was consumed by. And I was finding myself staying after class, talking to the professor all the time. I was changing my diet at the time, which is totally different from who I am now. But I became vegetarian, which I'm not anymore because of IIN. Um, and I gave up coffee and I gave up pop, which I don't, some people call it soda, but I got rid of all of that back in the fall of 2018. So that was kind of like the shift into my health journey and really getting to know, what fuels my body, what my body doesn't serve. And so I kind of just took that class and just started to make changes for myself until I started to really realize that I wanted to help other people. And so I ended up starting my own other personal online health and wellness business and have been doing that for almost 4 years now. But I tell people like my journey really didn't take a huge hit or like a huge shift until I recently, actually 2 years ago in September, I made a decision to remove birth control out of my system. And I didn't know what that journey was going to look like. It was kind of scary with the side effects and knowing what could potentially be. So 1 year later, after getting off the birth control, I hit the lowest of all lows in my mental health, physical health, like very, very sad to hit a point like that. I never felt like that in my entire life. And so I suffered a lot of side effects, which I can go into later. But there is where I took a shift for my health. So that's kind of like where IIN came into the picture, because I am wrapping up my certification here soon. So it's been a year almost. But at that time, I was listening to Dr. Mark Hyman's podcast. If any of you guys are listening, please go listen to him. He is seriously life-changing. And I just realized that I needed to soak in so much knowledge for me to understand what's happening with my body whenever I was going through all the side effects with birth control. So I started to work with a functional medicine doctor, getting my health back on track after what I felt like was something I never would overcome. And I'm still overcoming symptoms. And so at that point, September of 2021 is where I tell people that's my healing journey. That's where it all started. And at that time, I just had this very big heart tug on my heart that when I started to see my healing journey kind of prosper, I was like, I need to use my voice. God did not put me here for any purpose to go through all this hell. Like, I need to be able to share this with everybody. I need to be able to voice my journey in hopes that it could help somebody else. So I just sat in my car on my lunch break one day and I said, hey, I'm going to call IIN, and I signed up. So here we are, 1 year later, about to finish the certification, and I'm so grateful to be here.
I love that. I love that. So you mentioned quite a fair bit about, you used to be on the birth control and then you decided to remove it from your system, and therefore you started to suffer a lot of side effects, and that is where you started to onboard on your healing journey and eventually, follow your calling with IIN. So exactly what was happening after you removed the birth control from your system? What kind of symptoms that you actually experience, and how did I usually overcome that?
Yeah. So, kind of take you in a couple blocks of those stages. So at the beginning, which I'm learning so much about now, because I'm trying to learn, more about the hormone side of things, but the symptoms arise until like 3-4 months after removing the pill. So I didn't really see any symptoms until like December or January 2021. And the first symptom that I really saw was I actually was getting numbness in my hands. So I would have numbness in my hands. It would go basically the whole thing, and then go up into my elbows at sometimes. And it was very excruciating, especially for somebody that works their full-time job using my hands. So it was a lot to take in. And I got to the point where I was like, I'm going to go and seek a doctor. And I was so skeptical. Went to a hand specialist. He was rated pretty high for, dealing with professional athletes and everything. So I was like, let me just go see like if I have nerve damage or something like that. So I went in, got tested, everything came back great. And honestly, the test hurt so bad. So I was like shocked that I didn't have nerve damage. But after that, the doctor comes in and like talks about the results. Everything looks good, asks me the question, hey, have you had any changes in your menstrual cycle? And I was like, you have got to be kidding me. And I was like, I didn't think anything of it. And I was like, well, yeah. I said, I just got off of birth control about a few months ago. And he's like, well, that could potentially be the issue. And I'm like, okay. So I ended up starting to take a vitamin B6, and that's for your nerves. So that is only one vitamin that I have learned, vitamin, nutrient, mineral, whatever you want to, classify it as. But that is something so crucial for our bodies, that we need on a day-to-day basis to function. And our body is being depleted by that, over the years that I was taking birth control. And so I didn't know any of this. And so I just cold turkeyed it all and just went through it. And so I saw some progress, from January to about April. And then in April is kind of like where my life took a huge shift. April of 2021 is where I saw a very big decline in everything. So my face started to swell when it came to inflammatory cystic acne. I had it all over my face, all over my neck, to my chest, to my back. Just absolutely painful. To be painful is one thing, but to be painful inside, when you don't feel beautiful, when you don't feel confident, you don't want to walk outside and do anything because you don't want people to see what you look like, because you don't feel yourself. That's basically where I got. And so besides the pain, the pain ended up going skyrocketing. So I saw a little bit of progress taking the vitamin, decided to remove the vitamin because I ended up seeing such a huge shift in my pain. And I was like, well, this isn't, there's no reason for me to be taking this if it's not actually helping. And so, at that point, I was in a very stressful period of my life. Me and my boyfriend ended up deciding to remodel his grandma's home. So whenever he was getting out of his apartment in like 3 or 4 months, he would move in there, and then eventually we'll move in together once we're married. And so, at that point, it was very big on crunch time and having to remodel everything. And it was super, super stressful. And I was stressing myself out, not just, mentally, but physically, emotionally. Like, it was all over the place. That was a huge high when COVID was big and everybody in his family got COVID. And it put my family, the only one responsible to get this house done in a timely manner. And it was so, so stressful. So at that, I suffered from April until about August, and I told myself I hit such a low point. And so in August of 2021, I decided that I spent enough time kind of educating myself, and I knew that there was such a deeper cause that was going on. And, the lifestyle I already adapted over the, those many years that I started, since I started back in, like I said, in the fall of 2018, I constantly was learning and growing with the lifestyle I wanted to live. And I thought the eating habits I was doing was getting better and helping, and then not see much progress. And so, at that point, was when I went and sought a functional medicine doctor, which was rated pretty high here in the Pittsburgh area. And that's where I started to see, it wasn't a quick fix, change, I can say, and it's still not today. So even being a 1 year into my healing journey, I actually just went through a huge shift, and seeing a little bit of a rise in my symptoms recently, which is crazy because, we see the highs and we see the lows. And it's teaching me that I need to give myself grace, and that my journey is not going to be linear, no matter what healing journey, that I'm going to go on. And it's just more for me to share for everybody else to learn. So.
Yes, and I've learned a lot, from what you have shared earlier. Who would have thought by getting off a birth control is making us realize that we actually have been putting our body in a period of time that lack of vitamin, B6, like you mentioned, right? Vitamin deficiency, and then plus together with a lot of changes in terms of your emotional health, your mental health through the house remodelings and so on. So where are you right now in terms of your health healing journey? Are you 100% back to where you wanted to be, or you're still on healing journey itself?
No, I would say I'm definitely like a solid 75%.
Mm,
Some practices that I've done, I would say, or lifestyle changes that I've done to really help me
mm,
get to A, is I have gone to a neurological chiropractor. So if you're not familiar with a neurological chiropractor or anybody that's listening, a neurological chiropractor is a natural healing. They
mm,
don't, use a method that, twists, cracks, pulls, anything like that. So it's just applying the pressure to your nervous system, depending on where your symptoms are in your spinal cord, and just gradually getting your body back into the standard formation that your spinal cord should be,
mm,
done and to live like. And so basically that's helped a lot with my hands and my nerves, and also just getting different nutrients in my diet. So
mm,
this actually took on not being vegetarian anymore, and I started to incorporate meats back into my diet. I'm eating a lot more fruits and veggies than I used to. I just thought that like eating healthy was more behind the food labels rather than the ingredients. And so now I'm such a huge like, let me look at the ingredients and see
mm,
what's not good for me and stuff like that. But before, whenever I thought I was healthy, I was just looking at the labels, which just can be so misleading in today's world. So basically, I would say yes, I'm 75% where I want to be. I still have hand pain, still have nerve damage, so I don't know if that'll be a forever thing. Um,
mm,
I definitely will say that there's good days and there's bad days for that. And then I also, besides increasing my protein, I started to take beef liver. So beef liver, if you're not familiar with that, beef liver is what I would call is like such a good natural multivitamin. There's so many more minerals and nutrients that are in it. And it's
mm,
funny, I realized um, that what was in it, the minerals and nutrients that I was getting in it, was basically what I was getting through a nutritional IV that I was getting when I was working with a functional medicine doctor.
mm,
So it was really my time with working with a functional medicine doctor was for me to really learn and grow. And then now I'm able to find, those key things that helped me whenever I was working with him and being able to come
mm,
on my
mm.
own terms.
Okay. And I think that is where the bio individual that we have learned from my end coming in, right? Like a lot of people was thinking whether should I be a vegetarian or should I be a meat eater? And you yourself being a vegetarian, but eventually, you switching back and then started to reintroduce again meat in your diet because that works for you. And I think that is where, whatever works for others might not works for you and might not works for me. So we just have to going through our own learning and journey, like you mentioned, working with the functional medicine doctors, and you find a right diet, a right lifestyle that is fits your health and help you to improve. And I really love to hear that you have found something that is work and help you to be back to the way you want it to be. So really really
Mhm.
happy to hear that. Yeah. So yeah, Sarah. So just wondering, in terms of we was talking a lot about diet. We are talking about, eating the right nutrition and so on. But I also believe that, to lead a healthy, holistic lifestyle, having a balance, focus in terms of emotional health and mental health is also very important. So what is your practice, when it comes, you making sure that you are um, spending enough time, attention to your mental health and also your emotional health? Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I would say like my first would be my relationship with God. That
Mm,
has been the in my journey. I wouldn't be going through all these health issues because I never would have got off of birth control, because my decision to wait until I'm married was the reason why I got off of birth control, because I was only
mm,
serving added in my system. So I would say definitely. I've seen the most impact in the past 2.5 years that God has been in my life. And to know that is the reason why I feel like I have more joy in my life, and just knowing the calm and the peace that like everything is going to be taken care of. But other things that I love to enjoy when it comes to my mental health is getting outside. Walking is a daily thing, whether it's cold here or hot here. I have two beautiful golden retrievers, so they are my world, and I walk them almost every day, whether it's sprinkling rain here, whether it's snowing. I will walk them unless it's negative degree temperature. We are pretty much walking every single day, so that is something that I'm super committed to. But I love just spending time with my family and friends. I already mentioned, I have a boyfriend. So really, spending the quality time with him. We like to travel. We like to, obviously, we're still remodeling the home. So just doing that
Mm,
now. Um, and just trying new places, new things to do. And that's just, it's basically my mental health, and just obviously having a community. So when it comes to
mm,
like you belong and having those connections where you can be filled with the positivity, and a community that's not like going to bash you and be negative. And that's kind of
mm,
like I've gained whenever I started my health and wellness business. And so I even with IIN, I mean, there's been so many beautiful souls that I've met through Instagram because of IIN. And it's just been a blessing. Like I cannot explain the genuine heartfelt with like just the connections are just like no other. And when
mm,
you have somebody in your life that is on the same like vibration as you, like you
mm,
vibrating is like on a whole other level. And so it's
mm,
so amazing to be able to have a life where there are people that are striving for the same things, wanting the same things, and like talking about this stuff. Like that's why I wanted to do this.
mm,
Fun. Like this is what people, want to be a part of. People want
mm.
to be a.
Exactly, exactly. So I think what I hear from you is that, things that help you to really improve and, spending right time in terms of your emotional health and mental health is your relationship with God, establish meaningful social connections with people around you, for your families, your boyfriends, and also the new friends, that we have met through IIN. And I have to agree with you is that when we are working in our, usual jobs and everything, right? The vibe and vibration is very different. We love our job. We learn a lot of things about technology, about engineering and stuff like what you are doing right now. But when it's come to IIN, we feel that people are also striving to to help people out there, to have a better life, better health, and everything. And it's make us feel that we are leading a very meaningful life. We are doing some things that that we are meant to do. And I'm glad that you feel the same way as well. Yeah. And
Yes.
so thank you so much, Sarah, for sharing with me your journey. I've really learned a lot from our conversation. So before we say goodbye to each other, is there any one last message, or what is the biggest lesson that you have learned along your healing journey that you believe that all women should know? Yeah.
Um, I would say that there's so many resources out there. Like, take full advantage of what you have to offer. There's so much
Mm,
free like out there. So like, you'll never be alone. And the best thing that I will say is like utilize social media to find the people that you feel you can relate to. So say if you're
mm,
going through particular, you might not be able to relate to my journey because I'm going through hormones. Maybe you're going through something else, and that's
mm,
totally fine. But to utilize and maximize the offerings that we have right in front of us is the easiest
mm,
thing I've ever done. Um, the reason why I've gained so many people and friendships on Instagram is because I've taken that initiative to search for people that have like-mindedness in me, and to be able to relate to them, and to be able to thrive together. And so to overcome your sad days, your worst days, in your journey, in your healing journey, the best thing for you to have is to have that community, to have those people to lift you up when you are down. And that is honestly like the biggest takeaway that I would say that has helped me get through my lowest of all lows.